He was in pain. It was true, largely because he refused to take the pills she now held in her hand. "I don't like the way they make me feel," he had said to Sylvie, handing the bottle over to her. "And anyway, you've seen the news. Oxycodone, what do they call it, hillbilly heroin?" He shook his head, handing her the bottle. "Just give me some ibuprofen." "How do they make you feel?" Sylvie had asked. "What, those?" Paul nodded toward the bottle in her hand. "Groggy. Out of it." He wrinkled his nose. "Not good." "Okay, 3 ibuprofen coming up," Sylvie had replied, turning on her heel and walking toward the bathroom to retrieve them. What was wrong with feeling groggy and out of it if all you were doing was sitting on the couch and telling people to bring you things? Sylvie wondered. You had to be cognizant for that? She looked at the bottle now in her hand, the house as silent as a tomb around her. Her heartbeat sped up as she thought about how not being cognizant on this day, especially this day, might be nice. Paul would approach her with sad, cartoon character eyes, looking at her with the kind of manufactured sympathy she had always hated, even before she'd lost the baby. He'd put his hand on her shoulder, squeeze it ever so slightly, and ask, "How are you today, honey?" adding insult to injury. She hated it when Paul called her honey. It felt so false, so pat. He couldn't come up with a better nickname, one that possessed a shred of originality. She supposed things could be worse. He could have been the kind of husband who called her babe. But still, just use her own damn name. It had been a loss for Paul, too. She knew that. But the pain belonged to her. He shouldn't be allowed to access it. She had carried the baby, after all. She had had to feel her breasts fill with milk, engorged to the point of bursting, only to deflate in defeat a week later with no baby to feed. What had Paul had to do? Sell the crib? Come on. She knew it wasn't easy, but it wasn't the same. Sylvie hated today. Being out of it seemed like the perfect remedy. She touched the bottle tentatively. She had refused them after the birth of her children. The first time because she was lucky enough to not be in that much actual pain, and the second time because she was on enough anxiety medication to tranquilize a horse afterward. Now, Sylvie held up this new orange bottle to the light carefully, like it was an ancient Egyptian artifact. She had seen the shows about addiction, with people shooting up inside their cars in abandoned parking lots, nodding off mid-sentence and smacking their faces against their steering wheels. She had seen the same news Paul had, with the segments about entire towns turning into zombie villages on this stuff. Sylvie put the pills back inside the drawer and closed it. She dutifully applied her eye cream, patting it gently into her skin. She opened the drawer again, replaced her cream, and picked the bottle back up. The plastic warm from her incessant fondling. No, this was different, she told herself. She was not going to be nodding off in her car anytime soon. She was just cutting herself a break on a tough morning in the middle of a tough month at the end of a tough 3 years. She unscrewed the cap, took out one of the tiny white discs, and placed it on her tongue. With a grimace, she swallowed it whole, turned off the light, and began her day. "Pancakes?" asked Teddy, approaching the table with a bewildered look on his face. A face that had just recently begun its maturing transformation from circle to square. Teddy was his father in miniature. Same blue-gray eyes, same sandy blonde straight hair, same button nose. The least Jewish-looking Jewish boy in the world, she had thought to herself from the moment she'd held his tiny, naked body against her chest. "Why not?" Sylvie answered, smiling slightly at her son as he shuffled toward the table. The morning light filtered in through the wall of windows overlooking their deck, and below that the yard, which had burst forth with its green, purple, pink, and yellow bounty